All right, leaving neurofeedback. Today was a little bit of a struggle to focus on the present moment. Beforehand, Steven and I were talking about, I was talking to him about building our house and how it's such a new experience and all the choices there are to be made and Pinterest board of vibes. And he was talking to me about, now I'm not going to remember the word, neuroception. That's the term, neuroception, and how we have icons from very, very early on in our lives as to what comes to mind when we think of a house. There's an immediate thought and feeling probably associated with it, but specifically something most likely from very, very early years. And he gave me this anecdote about his ex-wife and how when they were remodeling their house, they were talking about the exterior, about how she said, well, okay, a house for me is, there's a blue door. And for some reason, she couldn't pinpoint why that was the case for her, because the house she grew up in did not have a blue door. She didn't know anything about a blue door, but for some reason that's what she thought of when she thought of a house and what it should look like. And they spoke with her father after that conversation, and he's like, oh yeah, well the house from when you were really little had a blue door, like when she was like 2. And so these icons that stick with us, that come from when we're really, really little for anything, like a car, a house, whatever, what that should look like, right? Based on what that icon was from when you were a kid. And so for me, when I think of house, like if I were to sit down with crayons and draw a house, the house would have shutters. And it's interesting because both of the houses that I remember living in as a kid in Ohio had shutters, and that was just kind of like this iconic part of a house, and like a house wasn't complete without shutters. But like building our house now, and it's not something that I would be like, let's put shutters on it. Although I do like shutters. How crazy is that? Like aesthetically, like not in any way for like function, but anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. And then it got me thinking about my childhood house, and then about all the decisions we're going to be making about the home that we're building. And honestly, I think it just got me in my head. Really got me in my head. So when we got to, hooking me up to the sensors to launch the Jetsons, it just was really hard for me to like settle and focus and just like be present, watch the Jetsons. All that was needed for me is to watch the Jetsons. So it just took a lot today to like bring myself back. I felt some like tension and pressure in my jaw, and I kept trying to like relax my throat and my jaw to loosen it. I kept rolling my shoulders back and my neck, and just today was difficult. So I just think that's pretty wild how getting into a state of having lots of thoughts of when there's like an undetermined closure element to it, like he was talking to me about, like with our new house, like we're just in the beginning of the process of making a lot of decisions about it. And so there's no like immediate closure to like stop that line of thought process, He suggested, he's like, give yourself a certain amount of time to really think about it, to really dig into it, to really like be in those thoughts about that, and then set an end and be like, I'm going to come back to that later at another time. And like you can even set it, like I'm going to take some time tomorrow and think about that some more. But even the process of saying I'm going to not think about this right now helps the background unconscious, like subconscious mind, kind of shut that down and not let it continue to like go. So some of the markers he was showing me in the bar graph of like different parts that it's measuring, he said these are all up, which are kicking up these other ones as far as the anxiety markers and such, because there's a lot of background noise, there's a lot of thoughts going on. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I think that talking about like my childhood home and then this new house that we're building, that just really got the wheels turning as far as stirring up old memories of home and then new memories of how different that's gonna look and feel. And then we were talking about vibes, and I was telling him about our Pinterest board and how I'm much more, I'm like, this makes me feel good, and it's hard to pinpoint necessarily in the picture what makes me feel that way. And he said you need to listen to those feelings. That's that neuroception. There is something that either you feel good or bad in a space, and so make that board based on those vibes and those feelings, and then there will be a through line of things. There will be consistency within it to find what the things are from the vibes, right? You gather enough data there, and you can see from there what really is bringing me that sense, that feeling, that good feeling, the good vibes, right? So that will be my way of kind of like figuring out what I like, and then obviously you're doing the same thing and merging those, and yeah. So I just thought that was so interesting, all of it, but really kind of got me in a state of thinking and probably overthinking, and then made it difficult to kind of be present, thinking about the past and the future all at the same time, and then still trying to be like, no, present. But I will say, to my credit, through all of that, feeling like this is difficult today, having that moment of self-compassion, hand on chest, heart center, realizing this is hard. Self-compassion, remembering the past and like understanding the past and how it's affected you is hard. Letting yourself be there. It is hard to be in the present for anyone, even if they don't struggle with anxiety. And trying to not have too much of my present mind in the future when you're doing something that's so big as like building our new home. So having that moment of self-compassion was really important for me. That this is hard. This is a difficult thing. All those things combined are difficult, but I'm doing it, and I'm not running away from it, and I'm not suppressing it, and I'm not pretending it's not big. I'm not belittling it and diminishing it. And my newer thing is I can, I will, I did. So it's that power pose in the elevator on the way up. I can. I look at myself and I say, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're safe. You don't live there anymore. And I know that even through the sessions, even through the times where it's struggle, it's difficult to stay present, but like zooming out from that slightly and being curious about like, okay, why? Whereas in the past, I feel like I would have just beat myself up about not being able to do it right, you know? Whereas now it's being curious about something feels good. That's good for my emotions, my psyche, all of it, knowing that I want to dig into that a little deeper. I'm curious about it. Why was that so difficult? And then thinking about it and having space, having grace for what is surfacing and what might be making it difficult to focus on the present, and then being able to have a conversation with Stephen afterward and say, okay, this was hard today. And then like, I mean, the graph showed that also, mirrored what I was saying, but not pretending like, well, I was fine. Like, obviously I wasn't. But the acceptance of that, the understanding of that, and then realizing, okay, now I really want, like, I go back tomorrow and I really want to have an understanding of what I can do and kind of feel empowered in that, and go back to the drawing board and understand that those feelings and the vibes, even though I can't maybe articulate yet what that thing is or what that feeling is that makes me gravitate towards something, if I gather enough data, it will be clear. It will become clear. So just being patient with myself during that, knowing that we all come in with these preconceived notions about what is a house, what is home, what makes this, So it was good today. They're all learning experiences. They're all chances for me to have a lot of grace for myself, especially in moments where I feel like I would love to be making leaps and bounds. And I feel like I am. And I know that I am. It just looks different than I would have thought initially, what all the progress looks like. And knowing that there is space for learning what it feels like and what it looks like, and how I can then adjust to it when I do have days where I'm kind of like, oof, I feel like I'm really in my head, and struggling to focus on the present when there's things pulling me different directions, because I feel like that's life. That's going to happen all the time. And then how do I deal with it and adjust and get myself back to that homeostasis where I feel even keel and like in the present moment. So, yay, progress.